Okay, here we go. Starting this video over again. Sure. Alright.
I don't say no music. No, hi. Hi, welcome to Auntie Ginny's podcast. There's no village today, right? There's no village. There's no music. There's no village music. With all what's gone on, I actually forgot I was on a podcast with this young man. So I've decided that I'm going to do a reaction. And yes, Blessing is late. We're late because of Blessing, right?
I'm on African time.
Right. I don't do Caribbean time, but I don't do black time either. Black people's time, but he does African time, and what can I do? Surrounded by Africans, they rule. I just sit here and
What can I say?
African time.
What can I say?
Yeah, so well, I'm going to do a reaction. Reaction to me.
Give us a background, Auntie.
Our background is that with all this that's going on, I actually forgot that, OJ's in that. I forgot that I was actually on a panel with the said Nick. So I'm just gonna refresh my memory because I really can't remember what I said or what was said. So I just thought I'd take it with you sort of to see, like, oh my God, did I really say something like as outlandish? So yeah. Why not, Rick? Why not? What else have I got to do, Rick? Why not? Why not? Listen, right? I need a new phone. So I got to do it for clout. My phone's dead, so you've been trying to get hold of me. So you know what I mean? Got to do it for clout.
They're gonna clip that. They're gonna clip
Right.
that
I
out.
need a new phone. But no phone, 24 hours. My public need me. So I need to come and do things to get a new phone. Yes, anyway, we're going to start it. Bring it up, Blessing. We're going to start it. And then I'll hit the button and let's go. Ready? Are your parents together?
Yeah.
Are you intending to get married?
Yes.
That's what I want to know.
Tell them your standards for a wife.
Yeah.
You're not gonna like this. I know you're not gonna like this.
Honestly, do you think all men should have your standards?
I do, yeah.
Go on.
Well, listen, so me, I'm celibate, okay? I'm Catholic, so...
Right, he's celibate. I've heard things out there, but he's a virgin. It's amazing.
I'm a virgin, I haven't had sex, so I'm looking...
Yeah, and honestly, I do think it's pretty normal to be probably a virgin at around 24. I think some people are not used to that because they're more used to like the party scene, I guess you could say. But I don't think it's that abnormal to be a virgin at around that age. To me, it seems pretty typical to me. But yeah, continue. Oh God.
He needs some sex. Might better calm him down a bit.
For a virgin, I'm looking for a young woman who's fertile, someone who's younger than me, no tattoos. Yeah, you know.
Another question.
Debt is negotiable. Also,
See, he wants a virgin with debt. You would negotiate debt. No tattoos, but you can have debt.
we've actually had a lot of conversations this week about race mixing and guys and girls sleeping together from different races. I don't really want a girlfriend who's into guys from other races.
Okay.
That's just to me.
How does that make you feel? Why is that?
Because I don't like it.
See, what's really weird is that he don't want a woman that's into. Does that mean that, because he wants a virgin. So that's confusing me. So either he wants someone that's not into black culture, or it doesn't make any sense. He just contradicts himself, because either you want a virgin or you don't.
Well, honestly, sorry about that. I think, honestly, it kind of makes sense. What he means, I think, to say is anyone who's attracted to other races than his. And I understand that. Even in an interracial level, I would not want a man who's attracted to black women who are dark-skinned. I've said this before. Because I want my man to be into me, not into dark-skinned black woman and just settling for me. How does that do my self-esteem if I know he likes dark-skinned black women? I'm never going to amount to being a dark-skinned black woman, and I'm very proud of that. Very happy with my phenotype as it is, you know. So, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't want a man who is specifically attracted to Asian women, obviously, over a lighter-skinned black woman like myself, right? So, it kind of like makes sense. Like, of course, he would want a woman who is interested in a white and Mexican man like himself, not someone who's not his race, like a black man. If she's into black men, then he obviously can't have he can't have the sense that he's actually desired by her. He wants to be desired by his woman, obviously. Otherwise, you're just having a low self-esteem and allowing somebody to just settle with you. That's not good for your self-esteem at all. Not nearly. Anyway, continue.
Or do you want a virgin that don't like black music and black culture?
Do you want your child? Well, it's actually a common thing for men to want their children to be a reflection of them.
Yeah.
It's not weird. Even in the animal kingdom, other
I wanted
lions
to answer
will
that, though.
yam up their babies.
Yeah, Naomi. Let him talk, Naomi. Quick.
That's nature for everybody, though. I don't know why they said it's nature for men. As a woman, I would prefer my children to look like me. That's why I don't prefer... I've said this before. I don't prefer people who have a phenotype different from mine. That's why I don't have interest in specifically, well, not different from mine, but who I feel have more dominance in their phenotype than my own. So that would be like, I'm not attracted to Asian men because their features, usually when they are with other races, they tend to dominate. Like, even if they have children with black people, the children usually look like Asian people. The face, at least, looks like an Asian person's. It's not that way usually with white people. Usually they have weaker genes. So it's like, if you are a black person, you're not really seeing that situation where, like, your kid's going to come out looking white. More so, your kid's probably going to come out looking more like you. But yeah, so to me, I definitely understand that. Continue.
Question was to him, Naomi. Not you, Naomi. Let him talk. What's your name? Auntie Jenny?
It's not their baby, so I
Sure
do get that. I get it.
That's exactly
Sorry,
right.
I spoke for you. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, no, I want kids that are going to look like me. And I also feel...
I want kids that are going to look like me too.
Same.
I had a child that looked like me. I remember years ago, it was like, don't you dare bring home a white man. But I did.
That's racist.
That is not racist when you're black. It's only racist when you're white. It's being selective.
I don't personally see it as racist to tell your child not to bring a black man home. I just don't. I don't think it's wrong to tell your child not to bring a black woman home. I don't. How is that racist? Racist would be like saying black people aren't human, black people don't deserve the same rights. Choosing not to be with black people in an intimate relationship is your personal choice. It's not racism. Goodness, you're really dictating who people are supposed to be attracted to these days? Something's wrong with you, honestly. Continue.
Debate.
Right? Used to be, don't bring home a white man. Do not bring home a white man.
I had that too. Don't bring home a white girl.
Yeah.
And what did I do?
No, but she's a lady. That's different. She's different. Not like the hussies that we saw back in the day.
When you get married, you become one flesh, and your wife's family becomes your family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want my wife's family, who will then be my family, to be like my family, for compatibility, for the sake of
I
the kids.
understand that. I get
There's a whole...
Sounds reasonable so far.
Yeah.
of reasons, predominantly for compatibility, that you'd want to marry someone from a similar background. And, people always get with me, they're like, well, because I'm like, some people say I'm mixed because I'm a quarter Mexican, half Italian, quarter Irish. You don't need to get very granular and say, well, he has to be,
Robert Jackson, give me a chance. Watch the podcast.
She has to be 33%.
To me, that's another thing interesting here. Is this person, they seem to, well, we'll get into their identity. Let's
This and
just
40% that and whatever. It's just like if they're similar, if the family's similar, you know it when you see it.
Yeah,
that's
you
good enough.
Can I just say something, Nick?
You want a white woman, say that.
Yeah. I'm going to pray for a young black Catholic virgin for you.
I like black girls. I'm attracted to that.
Black girls is attracted to that, but maybe there's not a lot of black virgins around.
Well, there's several aspects to this. First off, I kind of feel like one thing is that I kind of feel like I can relate a bit to what he's saying as far as culturally, because it just kind of makes sense that culturally, you would find that it's kind of like a situation where you feel like you want more in common with people that you're dating, honestly, than people that you're not, like when you don't have much in common with people that you're dating, basically. I know this because, I dated a guy who was from a different country, and it was really weird. One, it's hard to understand people with accents. I don't like talking to people with accents, honestly. And then also, it's not just that. People's perspective on things, and when they have, like, a different culture, they react differently sometimes than people within your culture. People who are different from you just, are a little bit different. So they act differently, they have different values, they have different interests because they come from a different culture. It's easier when people have more similar cultures to you to basically get along with them in a relationship sense of way. Like you are trying to become one with your partner. You want to become one with someone who is similar to you, obviously, not someone who is very different from you. And, I noticed that as a person of color too, that, it is easier with white Americans within my culture than people that are like outside of the country, or like, people who are first generation. That implies, when I say white American, by the way, I'm not saying specifically all white Americans, I'm saying specifically white Americans who are culturally not recent immigrants, like people who have long lineage here. Basically, it's easier with them, in my opinion. And then also the other thing I wanted to point out was on black women. I think one, being a virgin, I kind of think that it's interesting. She was saying that there might not be a lot of virgins that are black women around his age. I think that there may be, but the thing is, black female virgins are not taught the same value of virginity as other races of women, because black women are usually known to be more promiscuous. And I don't mean that in a mean way at all. I don't. I mean that more in a way like, this can be a good thing because sometimes people like black women because they think that they are more sexually experienced, and therefore the sexual experience may be a better experience because of that, But the whole idea of like innocence that comes with virginity is not really common among black women, right? So because of that view of black women, it makes it where black women aren't really viewed as the type that would be a virgin, basically. And so, since black women aren't viewed as people who could be virgins, the thing is, what happens is that black people basically have a two-pronged situation. You have the virginal side that's innocent, right? And you have the black side, which is seen as more sexually liberated, right? So then basically you as a black virgin lose both ways, because now your virginity is still obviously virginity, but it's seen in its own way less innocent, because being black makes you less innocent in itself. So then, on top of everything, it kind of just makes it where it's nullified. So then, a lot of black women who are virgins may not be so readily open to tell you that they're a virgin, because there's so many ways you could go at it by shaming black women for being a virgin, as opposed to actually seeing it as something valuable, like in other races, basically. Now, on the other thing I wanted to talk about was specifically, that's another thing with this whole situation, people saying that Nick Fuentes is racist. Like, through this conversation, you can kind of tell he is not a racist, specifically, like, the whole situation where he specifically, one, is saying that he prefers white people based off of culture, white American people. And we'll get further into it, but he's not specifically saying white Americans, he's saying specifically Italian Americans. And it's interesting because it's like people are trying to say that he's racist, but he's admitted that he's attracted to black women. A racist would not admit that they're attracted to black women because they don't see them as human. Would you admit that you're attracted to a monkey or an ape? Would you admit you're attracted to a dog? No, you wouldn't. So if you have the racist view that black people are subhuman, why would you ever admit to being attracted to something that's non-human in your mind? Like, obviously you wouldn't. You can tell the perspective of someone like him, it's not specifically racist. And it's just interesting that people keep lying and saying that he's a racist when he clearly isn't. Continue, though.
So you like them, but you wouldn't marry them. So you would fetish them, but you wouldn't marry them.
Wait. Auntie, I was saying a girl from the show that could like grow her own food, and she.
That's not really fetishizing, because fetishizing would be the active behavior of fetishizing, therefore, trying to get black women in bed. He's a virgin, so clearly he is not trying to get black women in bed or to sexualize them in any capacity. He just said he is physically attracted to them. He goes on to say he is physically attracted to many races, though it was kind of weird. He did say that he's not attracted to Mexican women, which is kind of interesting, because you would think he would have some kind of interest in Mexican women since he is Mexican. But okay.
She's a virgin, but I was like, oh, she's Indian. She's half Indian. I was like, ah.
But the thing is,
I'm looking at someone in my wall.
You couldn't overlook it. She's like half Mexican,
the
half
thing is,
Indian.
a lot of older generation of like people, like they want their children to be with. My gran was Scottish, and she hated my dad. She hated the fact that my mum was with a black man, and I get it. In the sense that my gran did not understand his culture. My gran had no ability to have any.
Listen, right, Naomi, even sometimes people understand the culture, and that's the main reason why they don't want you to mix.
Oh, I'll tell you that. That's true. I mean, like, especially, this can also have to do with not just specifically black people and other races, but it can also be people that are within the same race. Like, for example, black Americans. A lot of the time, people get confused with black culture and they think that that's what black people originally had. That's not true. Black Americans had the same culture as white Americans throughout slavery, segregation, and so forth, right? We did. And what happened was there were some black people who felt uncomfortable with the fact that as a black person, their culture, their African original culture and heritage was all erased because of slavery, like language, your name, your culture, your customs. The culture and customs got broken down because families got split apart through slavery over and over and over again for 200 years, so nobody could keep tabs on who was who. And then added to it, I mean, like, for those purposes, another thing was the slave trade did end at one point, so African influx of people was at a smaller level in the 1800s. So, it was more so a continued um, Americanization of the African slaves that occurred. And so, because of that, a lot of black Americans a couple decades ago felt like they were robbed of their African heritage. And it was interesting. They would try and glom onto all these weird African cultures that probably had nothing to do with their ancestors to begin with, but they would try and claim them simply because they didn't have anything to claim of their own. And so this is how black Americans tried to come up with an idea of having such a thing as black culture, just so then they can have something different than white Americans. Now, this is the thing, not all black Americans embraced this because many black Americans were understanding of their actual culture and embraced what they naturally had. Because they were like, basically, like my family, for example, what's done is done. Why try and harp on something that is long gone? You know, we're Americans. We have American culture. Our culture is the same as white Americans who have long history in America. Not the immigrant populations, but the American populations is what I'm saying. So basically, in this situation, it became a point where black people who tried to embrace the so-called black culture that they call it, um, became something that a lot of black American families who didn't embrace that culture tried to avoid, would not want to marry, would not want to be with, because one, those type of black people do not understand black Americans who have a normal, well, to my perspective, a normal culture that is just the mainstream American culture that we were all raised with originally. Um, so because of that, they will assume things about black people who don't come from the same subculture that they come from, basically. And so they'll never understand the black people who don't come from the subculture they invented, basically. And so that's why a lot of black people avoid those type of black people. And I think, to me, in my opinion, these type of black people, honestly, in my opinion, um, demonstrate what you were talking about. Like, they know your culture. That's why they don't want to include themselves in it. That's why they wouldn't want to marry into it. And I think that that's true. I know, like, with my family, my mother taught me, and I think her parents taught her, like, not to integrate with black people who do express that type of subculture, basically. So continue.
You understand the culture.
Into me as her grandchild, and neither did my mum. I had such a lack of identity because my mum was not black, and so even with my son, I have to work so hard to make sure that he knows who he is as a black man. So
that's down to the grannies. That's down to the grannies and the parents, because my grandkids are mixed race, and they know that. They say they're brown, they know their black side, they know their white side, they can mix in between. They know there's certain things you don't do at my house. Certain things you can talk what you like at your grandmother's. At my house, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Before I have to get the psychologist to say I'm going to give you trauma by giving you a slap. Watch your mouth.
Like, making sure that his father has such an input because he is a black man to teach him. If I was then with a white man, like, how is that white man going to teach my black son anything? Like, no offense, but for me personally, like, I need a black man to teach my black.
I don't really know what she means by a black person teaching a black man teaching her son to be black. To be black, it's not. There are no instructions to being black. You're just born it. Only instruction is black people reproducing with black people. That's all it is, really. I don't really get, like, when people think, like, how to be black and all this stuff, usually they mean some kind of behavior or something like that. It's a stereotype of black people. What does it mean about black people who do not go by that type of ideology? What, are you saying we're not black? My mother was black. She didn't teach me how to be black because she knew I was born black. There was nothing more to teach. There's nothing to teach in the first place. What do you mean? Teach your kid the colors so they know what color their skin is? Well, that's going to happen if you teach your kid and they're not just a completely illiterate person with not even a preschool education. I'm pretty sure they'll know that by the time they're grown up. So I don't really get what you mean here. Basically, I think you're just going off of stereotypes, to be honest with you. Anyway, continue.
On how to be a black man. I as much as it might not be the thing to agree to, but I actually weirdly again agree with you.
But you know, she wants a black man. She wants a black woman for her son. How racist is that? How come she just wants a black man for her son?
Her son is black. That's what she's saying.
I know, but that's not good. You're supposed to be able to mix. You're not supposed to say that I only want this for my child. I only want black. To say that you're black and you only want black, that is racist. That is racist. That is racist against white people. What happened to the white race? Why can't they mix Naomi? Racist Naomi. I'm calling you out. Why do you only want a black woman for your black child? Naomi, darling. It seems like that because I went out of a white guy and I know more about being white than he knows about being black because of where I live. Yeah. It's just cultures. You see, that's the difference. We're in England. We're surrounded by Britishness. We're surrounded by whiteness. So we've come over and we've made our mark. We've made our mark. We got rules. We got laws. We got the same rights as white people. Yes, there might be the odd exception. You might get somebody to get killed or beaten or something. That's very rare. Very rare compared to in America.
Oh, yeah.
And when you think about the size as well, it's going to happen more in America.
Yeah. Auntie CJ said only black people can say that. Why?
Only black people can say the N-word.
Only black people can say that they prefer only to date black people.
That's what I'm saying. It must be one of them things that nobody explains. Like why only black people can say that N-word. I suppose it's the same thing, isn't it? Black people are allowed to say N-word and the white people are not allowed to say N-word. Black people can say we only want our children to go out with black people because we don't want to mix our race. But a white person can't say that. A black person can stand up and say, I'm proud to be black. And if a white person says, I'm proud to be black, you expect them to have KKK on their forehead.
See, Auntie, that's where the discussion, I think, needs to be had.
That there's some things that white people can say and black people can't, or vice versa.
And why, though? Because, okay, like, let's say you make music, like, let's say hip-hop, right? They're saying the N-word a lot. And they're trying to appeal. If they wanted to appeal to black people, I guess everybody would be on a black platform. But they go on these mainstream platforms, say the word. They go to concerts, and no one is outraged that white people are buying the tickets to go to the concert for a song with the N-word in it.
Do you know what, right? I think maybe it's something that they've taken back from slavery because the N-word only come from America. It wasn't really using it here.
No, that's not really the case. Two things here. One, it's not that black people can only use the N-word or that black people can use the N-word. It's not really quite that because some black people can use the N-word and some can't. So it's different ideas of this, okay? So there's people like, for example, Flower Tower. She specifically says that, like, she and a friend were saying, it wasn't just her, this bisexual man on her channel, who I think she has on her channel sometimes, whatever, and he specifically was trying to say that that basically mixed people shouldn't use the N-word, right? And they were like, oh, don't let her use the N-word or whatever, right? Then, people like her, for example, she was having this whole idea that, like, she calls everybody mixed, okay? She thinks that, like, plenty of people shouldn't use the N-word. Like, she was saying I shouldn't use the N-word because, she thought that I was mixed. She always is trying to call me mixed. I've made several videos against her because she would do that. And it would always be odd because it's like, it's not off of facial features, I don't think, because we have similar facial features, in my opinion. Like, her eyes are on the front of her head. She has features that are similar, honestly, to me. Not as much as Star Puppy, but, similar features still. But anyway, the point is, with this situation is, she specifically had this whole situation where she seemed to, want to say that, mixed people shouldn't use the N-word, or people that she perceives are mixed or whatever, not using the N-word. Now, there's some people who have complaints and they'll say, like, Cardi B shouldn't use the N-word either. Then there'll be people like, for example, like, I remember at my job, for example, this is a situation I always talk about. Black people would talk about using the N-word regularly, basically. At my job, it would just be a common thing that black people would do. And the thing was that the people who were like, there's like one person who was like by the name of Mel. I'm not using his first name, of course, but the last name matters because that is a common name for people that are considered basically the Chestnut Ridge people, basically. And these people are basically the descendants of a black woman and a white man back in the 1700s. Again, they've been a mixed race population in their area of West Virginia ever since. And so he identified as mixed race or as a black man, basically. I think he just said that he was black, actually. And specifically with this guy, he specifically would use the N-word. This guy had blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skin. And he made sure that that policy got changed to nobody using the N-word because they realized how it looked. White man using the N-word and then realizing he's a black man, right? And, there are plenty of white passing black people. So that's why it's like people don't really like the N-word being used, it seems like, in my opinion. But they just let black people use it sometimes. And then black people realize they don't even like black people using the N-word because they'll have different ideas of who can use it and all this stuff. So then it doesn't even become black people. Some people think, like Flower Tower, that basically only dark-skinned black people can use the N-word. Then some people think that, Cardi B can't use the N-word, but other black people can. So it really depends. Anyway, continue.
I think it's something that, like, when somebody calls you something, like when I was saying over there, they call me big head, but I can call myself big head. It's better that I call myself big head than you. So I think it's something maybe they've taken it back from slavery.
Yeah, but if a white person is saying they just want to marry white, how is that,
No, that's not the case. They didn't take it back, though. It's another thing about this whole situation is that the N-word wasn't taken back because if it was, the people who use it, it would be for people who basically were like doctors, educated people would be called the N-word. No, it's only the lowest of the low who use the N-word. Like, for example, at my job, nobody called me the N-word, one, and nobody would talk to me saying the N-word because they kind of understood I didn't come from the same background and the same origin as they did. And their origin was of a lower origin, basically. So basically, it's only associated with lower black people. It's never associated with higher class black people. So it's not like it's taken back. What really happened, honestly, is that, black Americans, if you really pay attention, are the descendants of slave owners. You have to think, it's not just that black Americans are the descendants of slave owners and we were specifically adopted out so they didn't have to be exposed to such racist, hateful people. Nope, they didn't get spared, sadly. And because of that, they were raised to see themselves inferior. So some black people bought onto the idea that they were the N-word. And that's why some black people call themselves the N-word, because they view themselves through the light of racist white people of old. Continue.
Offensive to the other race because they're referring to just themselves. They're not saying the N-word, but I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's the same thing. That's what I mean. Maybe black people can only say we want to go black because maybe it's the white people that started mixing the races in the first place in the slavery days. So maybe that's why we can say it and they can't. Because they would call the N-words back in the old days, right? And when you think about it, the slave masters were there sleeping with all the black people mixing. So maybe that's why now black people feel that we can say, no, we have a choice now. Before we never had a choice.
Okay.
We had a choice. Before we never had a choice to say, like, all right then, you were raping off our women, and that's why we had all these mixed race children. But now we're strong and we're independent and we're no longer slaves. We can choose not to mix with you. Before we never had a choice. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the same thing like, before, you were calling me the N-word, and it was derogatory, but now I'm going to turn it on. It said, and you can't call me it no more. You know what? Because I'm calling it myself. And if you call me, it's because your ancestors did. Not having... Sorry, I pressed that by mistake. I'm just thinking logically. That's the only way I can think about it. Right. Because if a black man goes out of a white woman, sometimes they think you're getting your own back for your past slavery days. Do you know what I mean? But if a white man goes out with a black girl, hey, you just want a bit of the blackfish, innit? Well, what, you take him back from slave master? It's always somebody trying to get back on somebody.
Is that a more is that a forward way of looking at things as a society?
Yeah, and it's honestly like, dude, man, people, why the heck are you thinking of all that when you should be thinking about love? Like, seriously, you're not even concerned for yourself. You're concerned about getting people back when you should be concerned about love, That's just the truth. Anyway.
So is that backwards then?
Listen, right, if they want to mix on their own, they can mix on their own. They just got to find someone to mix with them.
So everybody should have a choice to say...
It's like you can sleep with who you want to sleep with. I've had black and white, so nobody can't tell me who to sleep with. You sleep with whoever you want to sleep with. I got mixed race grandchildren, right? And you can sleep with whoever you want to sleep with. It's your choice. It's your choice. If I decided that I only want to have black kids, I don't want no one telling me, you're against the white people, because that is my choice. I like white people, but I choose to have a black child. That is my choice, and nobody can't take that away from me.
Yeah, obviously that's your choice, but in terms of like dialogue, are you able to go? I'm just speaking here, playing devil's advocate. As a white person, am I able to go and say, I just want my family to just be all white?
They'd be deemed as being racist.
Why? That's what we're trying.
I don't even know why. Like I said, maybe it comes from back in the day, the slavery days. But it's really hard because black people, no matter where they are, once they mix with other black people, they're black. But white people, years ago in England, they used to call us coloured. And that's the thing, if you look in your background, you're a lot more coloured than me because you're all mixed up. I'm black, you're all coloured.
I don't really get it because it's like, to me, black is colored. That's kind of an obvious thing because, I don't know, maybe darker skinned black people really do see themselves as black. I remember when I was younger, I always thought it was weird. How did he come on black if my skin tone is nowhere near black? Like, that was hard for me to understand. It's like, well, it's not white. No, it's not black. These are bad descriptions of my skin tone. It's a bad description of me. Color to me was always a good example a better example, at least, of things, and specifically saying someone is, you know, a color like black. It was just black by association, in my opinion, but yeah. Anyway, continue. And I still see it that way. Black by association.
Well, they used to say, there was a poem out there. I think when you're cold, you go blue. When you're hot, you go red. When you're sick, you go yellow. So who's colored?
But my thing is, Auntie, we're in a more diverse society now. Let's say now, we're in a more diverse society.
If you don't want to mix, go and buy islands on your own. Go and live with your own people and go. Go where all the white people are. If you like white people, go where the black people are. If you like black people. If you want to be with all black people, go to Africa. And you're going to find that they're still mixing with white people there anyway. So go and buy yourself an island. Go and buy Black Island. And what?
I kind of agree with that. I always tell black people, like, if you don't want to mix or you don't like seeing white people, especially when people have issues seeing white people, they don't like the existence of white people, please get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of places where white people are. Do not let us be in my country because, like, seriously, you are a hateful person. You hate most of the people here. Why are you here? Do you like being miserable? Like, come on now. Seriously.
Island and live on your own. And all those who want to mix, let them mix. Because nowadays everybody's talking, but everybody's going abroad. They're not going abroad to find black women. They're going abroad to still mix up.
True.
Right.
Blame. Yeah,
but the only thing with that is I get that argument, but the only thing is, I mean, incidentally, the only woman that I think I've ever truly loved was of a different race. So just putting that out there. But I think, I mean, it's a. People say to me, oh, you want to meet somebody, you want to just meet a nice girl, same background, same sort of age group, age cohort. You can talk about, when Blue Peter used to be on TV back in the day, But to me, that's a bit boring.
But
do you know what I mean? Is compatibility always predicated on having the same cultural reference points?
When you have a child, right? I'm a child of a white mother, and my lack of identity and the complete lost child that I was. My hair had to get shaved off because my white mother had zero clue, and it was no good.
That was down to your black family. That was down to your black dad. That was down to your mother getting involved with a black man and not knowing anything about the culture. If you're going to get with somebody, know about their culture. If you're black, you're going to get with a white person, know what makes them tick. And if you're white and you get with a black person, lets them tick. I had a big debate online with somebody, and this woman was doing it for bait clout. And she was going on there doing her daughter's hair on. It's all right, we'll be having live calling later on. And she was doing it for clout, doing this kid's hair with I think it was a lace and this pulling. The child was all excited. And I said, where's the grandparent? And somebody goes, oh, what? She don't live near. All these women. Oh, leave her alone. No, you can't go on there going on like, oh, you just found this new TikTok way to do your daughter's hair because she's mixed race. Where's the black grandparent? Where's all the books? If somebody really wants to find out about another person's culture, they will. Because when my grandchildren step out of their house, their hair looks like a black person's done it. Because why? Because their mother found out that if she don't do their hair and they go out, she's seen all the other people's eyes. She said, I will say, like, where's their grandmother?
I find this weird when they say that black people know how to do black people's hair. Because honestly, I mean, black people sometimes do know how to do black people's hair, but it depends on the black person. Assuming we all have 4C hair is weird to me.
How come the child says?
Because a lot of us don't. Like, for example, I was taught was you'll use water to lay down the hair a bit. From what I heard, that 4C hair, I don't know if this is really true about them, because I don't have 4C hair. I have 4A hair. Much of my family either has 4A hair, 3C hair, some have 3B hair, some have 2C hair. That's my cousin from afar, though. And then maybe someone has 4B. I'm not really sure about that. But nobody has 4C hair. And for my mother, for example, my mother had 4A hair, as I do too. She never knew how to do people's hair that was like 4C. Like, the fact that you can water your hair and it's still not curling up, from what I hear, that's interesting to me. I don't know like how that would work, how that type of hair would work, you know. And I'm black, so to assume that black people know how to do other black people's hair is weird to me. Like, for one, my cousin who has 2C hair doesn't know how to do 4A hair. So I'm just saying, like, different black people have different hair textures, so you really can't assume what our hair texture is going to be in the first place. Some of us, I guess some people actually do think that black people's hair is 4C hair and it's not 4A or 3C or 3B. But yeah. Anyway, continue.
So picky. Try putting a comb through that hair. Bring me the child, let me show you the hair. She went through different products until she found the one that suited the grandchildren's hair. They know about the food. They know about the Italian side. They know about the Irish side. They know about the black side. They know all of it. They know, and the mother learned. So the mother learned, that she passed it down to the kids, and now the girl wants to learn to do her hair herself, like Lindy Bug. She wants to learn how to do her hair herself.
I have a question actually. Do you think black people are more accepting of mixed children than white people?
You ever heard about bad breed? It's always mixed race children, isn't it? Whenever they talk about bad breed children, it's like when you have mixed race children, it's like there's some bit that's missing. And you always hear about it. It's been a thing for years.
But
they always seem more forward.
Which society, which group is more accepting of it?
I don't even think it's which group. I think it's where you are and where you live.
Okay.
Because you will find that in England, black, white, mix, you mix, nobody really don't really give a damn. People might look at you like, if you're a white man, they might think he's got money. That's what they will think automatically. They think he's got money. But in England, it don't really matter. We're a melting pot. We don't care. Those who care, just get on with it. Like the Jews, they mix with their own. You see them in Stamford Hill? You see them all mixing together? You go Upton Park, Whitechapel. You go, what's the place in Southall?
Yeah.
You know, you see all the Indians mixing together. You might see, and look at the Jamaicans. The Jamaicans are well mixed. Out of many, we are one. You got black Jamaicans. You got Chinese Jamaicans. You got, they're mixed up. That's one place where everybody mixes and they still get on. Is Jamaica. Because Jamaica, you would see a Chinese guy and he's black. And he opened his mouth, he's got a Jamaican accent. Nobody don't care.
So do you think like London is probably the best place to have racial conversations than anywhere else? Because in terms of just the diversity that's in the city.
I think you should just go around the world. I said, because I went to Scotland, the woman was totally disgusted that I had a white man. She was totally disgusted. The woman just looked at me like totally disgusted. And I just ignored her.
Is it a generational thing, or is it just, like you said, it's a more like location?
I think it's a generational thing, and I think it's a cultural thing for some people, because if they've got strong ties at home, then you want your children to represent your family. And what a lot of them people fail to realise, and like Nick and that, is that when you're mixed, there's such a thing as a throwback. So I am praying that Nick and his white woman, that when he decides to go and have children, that he is a throwback from his dad's side. I want his child to come out dark. The same way how sometimes you get them light-skinned white children with freckles that come from black parents. He don't realise that it can happen. I want him to have a black child. I want the child to come out coffee-coloured. Because I don't think he realised that can happen. So as much planning as he's there planning, he can still have a mixed race looking child from his Mexican side.
Yeah, obviously I don't think he can control. He can try to control it, but
he can't.
Further down in his, it can happen. His son might decide to go the other way.
No, I don't want. I want him to have. I want him to have a black child. I don't want him to have a white child. A child.
For one, I kind of feel like with the situation that I think this goes back to what he does. If you know anything about Mexicans, it's hard. Some people do not know about Mexican people and how it works. But what Mexican people in America identify as white. And since they identify as white, it becomes very hard for basically their children and their grandchildren to identify as anything else because they originally identified as white. Now, the thing is with this situation is this. Mexicans know that they are not white, but they identify with white while in America. The thing is, they, I think, don't like being a minority, so that's why they will identify themselves as white, and they will put racially that they're white. And then in Mexico, they will put down that they're mestizo, which is a mix of white and Native American. So basically, when you take a DNA test, which tells the truth, he will come out being, a good 10 to 20% Native American. And so, that basically is how you know he is a mixed race man. But I think that's why he heavily tries to identify with his white side. Also, being American to Mexicans many of the time is being white. So I think that's what he's trying to embrace is his more his mother's side, basically, than anything. Maybe this is also because I think, some Hispanics who look like him, basically, are taught that their phenotype is something to be a prize or special. Actually, more than like white people, for that matter. Because I've dated guys who were like that before. And they would have this mentality where they felt like their phenotype was something out of the norm or something special, basically. Because they were like, one guy, he was Puerto Rican, the other guy had like Mexican and Asian in him. But he was majority white, yes. But he was still, he still had some non-white in him. I think he was like a little less than a quarter non-white or something like that, and his dad was probably pretty much a mix of both. But anyway, people like that, they come from Hispanic families, like they have Hispanic families, so they know that they basically are not white, but they have a phenotype that makes them feel like among their Hispanic family, it is something special. So that would make them probably want to cherish what they have. I'm saying this on a non-racist basis because the people I'm talking about specifically were people I dated. So obviously they were dating a black woman. So they weren't racist. It's just kind of like how they were raised as people of color. But yeah, that's another reason why I'm like, how do people call Nick Fuentes a white supremacist when he's specifically showing signs that he's not a white supremacist? He specifically is saying that he's a mixed race man. He doesn't seem to treat black people like they're subhuman. He seems to be perfectly fine with black people. I don't get why people think he's racist. It's so odd.
Go the other way. I want the child to come out dark. I know an African woman, and her child was black, and her child was white with blonde hair and blue eyes. She always used to get stopped at the airport. People used to think she was a nanny, and it was her child.
Wow.
And if you see her, and you see the child, she was a friend of mine. You see her and you see the child, you think to yourself, who the hell's child is that? Everybody thinks she's a nanny, and it's her child. And I hope that happens to Nick.
But do you think, this is just from observation here, do you think there's like a generation of like the young white people that grew up, maybe they might not have an understanding of what happened before? I lived. That's what this.
No, I don't think people care in England. Listen, right, those who do care, do it. Those who do care, do it. But I don't think it's as important to us as it is in America. We don't care. You can walk around and see that we don't care. You can walk around and see like black women with Indian men and, all kinds of people mixing. We don't care. Once you just leave us in peace, we care more about our peace, our happiness, and our family unit than what's out there. Because the only way you can get on them people's nerves, go and touch their child. Go and call their mixed child. Go and call their mixed child a bad name, and then you'll see the difference. But that's it. We don't care. Live and let live. We don't care over here. So, Doug, come and get your woman. I know Doug's got to be out there somewhere. Doug's always out there somewhere. I can feel Doug. Is he out there? Is he out there? Because I don't want to look away. But I know that Doug's going to be out there. Come and get your woman, Doug. I got a white woman for you, Doug. I'm going to get you one. Come, Doug. Come.
This school, how to learn how to do this black child hair, because my hair was not mixed race.
Did she not ask anyone?
No, my mum was no.
Onsuru Asaya Ozasua. I know I've just messed up your name. He says, if Nick has white children with an Irish woman, the children will be lily white. No, they won't, because the white are the darkest. The Irish are the darkest of whites anyway. So no, they won't. Go back and check, and you will see. Go back and check. He is Mexican and Italian. If he has a child from an Irish woman, there is no guarantees that child is going to be white. Go and check it out. Real genetics. So you're talking rubbish.
He didn't, but
he's at least 10 to 20% Native American. His child would be somewhere around 5 to 10% Native American themselves. So obviously, he'll easily have a child that can... he can easily have a child that is mixed looking. Since, honestly, I don't know why people don't realize it, but Nick Fuentes looks mixed. I don't know why people don't realize that, though, because if you look at his face, it definitely looks like a mixed race person with Native American ancestry. I think some people are trying to look for black ancestry, and it's like, you're not going to find any black ancestry because he's not black. But as far as Native American ancestry, you can see it all over his face. He looks like a Latino. Like, there's some Latinos that are very fair-skinned, but they still have the Native phenotype. Like, you can still see in their face that they're Native Americans. Continue.
No, when we lived in Brixton, but then we moved to the Lake District, not always are you going to be in that situation. And so, yes, love...
If you're having a child with a black...
finish what I'm saying. When love is like an umbrella of one...
Ooh, don't interrupt Naomi when she's on the roll.
I get that, but at the same time, I can still understand where he's coming from. I'm not saying that it's the right thing, but not every box fits for every single
parent's responsibility. I was going to say something. It's your parents' responsibility to ensure that you have that identity, that you know who you are.
That's no excuse. It's your parents' responsibility. Because my daughter-in-law, she's white. And she can like cook curry goat, rice, coleslaw, do hair. She's learning. So no. If you decide to go and open up your legs for somebody of the other race, make sure that you know who you're letting in. Literally.
Obviously.
You're a black man. She chose to have you.
But that's my point.
She chose to have a mixed race child, so she should have educated herself on how to do hair.
But I think her point is it's just harder.
It's
harder. That's your choice.
No, it's not harder, Pearl. Shut up. It's not harder. You have a child out there. Listen, right? You that want takeaway, right? You pick up your phone, you Google. You that want to know about man, you pick up your phone, you Google. Auntie Jenny can't get into her phone, so she gives it to Blessing. What does he do? Go on Google. You're trying to tell me that if you want Mexican food, you can go and type in Mexican food and learn how to cook it. If you want curry goat, you can go in there and type. If you've got a child of another race and you want to care for their hair, it's all out there. YouTube. Google it. It's all out there. No excuses. So if you see these mixed race children walking down the road, like I've seen some of them looking like you can't even put a fork through their hair because all of their hair is all matty because the mother don't know what to do with it. No, she's whiteless. Got nothing to do with anything. She's whiteless. From the time she's got a mobile phone in her home and the child's hair look natty, she's whiteless.
I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying you can't do it, but I think both of their points it's just more difficult.
It's different. There's a responsibility there.
Also can be...
Yeah, I do think sometimes it also can be confusing because there are different types of hair. Like, when I look online for example, and you look at YouTube and you look at different hair types, Google different hair types, they'll have weird things. You can have a combination hair type. For example, you could have hair that basically seems like it's like the basically your retention or your curl pattern is similar to someone with like 4A hair, but the amount of moisture you need a lot more moisture than say someone else with the same curl pattern than you. So it's like really interesting. Some people will say that like a curl pattern specifically needs like this amount of oil or moisture, but it's like that's not for every hair type. That's only some hair types need a certain amount of moisture, you know. And so you can't say just because your curl pattern is this type of curl pattern that you're going to need the same moisture as another person with the same curl pattern. You know what I mean? Everyone's different, you know. And then also, you know, people have different conditions also that have to do with their hair as well. But I'm getting on a tangent, so I'll just...
Really enriching as well, though, I find.
But do you know what I just found out? That you used to like your mum. And I remember seeing this woman on TikTok doing this mixed race girl's hair, and I was like...
Yeah, I've seen the woman.
With the one where she pulls the thing.
Yeah.
I got so much stick after that because I was like, where's the grandmother? Stop repeating yourself, Auntie Jenny. You just said that. You know, I've got mixed race grandchildren. Yeah. Their hair looks on point. Right. Yeah, you said that already. Time, you know why? Because she's done her research. Mm-hmm. You can tell that you can tell that I'm just watching it, reacting as I go along. And you see, that's one thing, right? That if I believe in something, I'm gonna stick with it. Nobody ain't gonna change my mind. Well, if you wanna prove me wrong, show me. Don't tell me. Questions. Mm-hmm.
You know, it takes a level of consciousness to understand. That takes a lot of understanding. Just like your mum wasn't there for you, and so my mum quite evidently didn't have the capacity. But my point is if both my parents were black, that wouldn't have even been a question.
You really? I've seen parents that are black and they got picky head, Naomi. Just parents is whatless. Whatless parents are whatless parents.
Yeah, I think it's just got to do with the different hair types. Because some white people have hair types similar to black people. Like there's a girl on YouTube that specifically is white and she has 3C hair. And there are a lot of black people who have 3C hair. So it's kind of like, it's just, some people assume that white people have different hair type. And many of the time they do, but you can't make the assumption that black people have the same hair type. You know, there are plenty of black people who don't.
Mixed race kids can have picky head. Black children can have picky head. The only difference is that when it's black kids, they say, "Oh, they're locking up."
Listen, I've grown up. My mum's telling me that I wish I was as dark as she is. She gave me a complex of being light skinned in a black family, with both my parents being black. So that's not a thing to say.
I'm not saying that, but I wasn't talking about color of skin. I'm talking about.
Yeah, I agree with that. Having a dark skinned mother. It's almost like the idea of everything is like, oh, everything is above you. The only way you can be embraced is if you embrace something that isn't you. That's the only way you can be embraced. And you cannot embrace what your color is. Because if you embrace what your color is wrong somehow. Liking yourself is wrong. Loving yourself is wrong. That's why I always say lighter skinned black people, we're not taught to love ourselves. Even lighter skinned black people, many of the time won't teach their own children to love themselves because they feel like that's hating them, other people or something, or that it's meaning that you don't really like being black. Like your skin tone is something that is against what your skin tone is something that is against your race. Like there's a fight between the two. And for me, it's always been like, this race is a label and this color is actually on me. Like I see my color every day. You know, race is a label. You know, I'd rather embrace what I see in the mirror than embrace a label if that's what's at war, basically. I'm not saying that I don't identify as black, I do. But I'm saying that if it is really coming to that, I'd rather embrace my phenotype and my features rather than not. Because that's what I live by. That's what I look like. That's what I see in the mirror. I'm going to end up hating myself if I don't. That's just how I see it.
But you were talking about understanding how to deal with a child of a different race.
No matter how much my mom's being a white woman, no matter how much my mom's a white woman, right? Mm-hmm. No matter how much she educates herself, she will still never tell me how to be a black woman. That's not fine.
Can I just say something?
She sounds like she's American.
How do you teach someone to be a black woman? I just don't get it. I really don't. You guys keep talking about that, and it's like, I don't understand. What do you mean to be a black woman? You just are. You just are or you aren't. You know, if you don't feel like you're a black woman, then you're not, I guess. But, I mean, like, you either are or you're not.
You're right.
The one, yeah, she is.
Yeah, because Pearl has been going through a situation where they said should have put her on a panel. I think this is the best panel you can have there.
Yeah, they're white.
Yeah,
mixed race, light, mixed race dark,
mixed
and even
African.
Mixed race white supremacists. Come on. All kinds of mix up there. All kinds of mix. You got mixed Caribbean. You got mixed American. The girl there who's mixed dark. You got Naomi, mixed light.
She's African, Mona Lisa. Like, it's
everybody's there. Black, white, mixed. All there.
Listen,
I don't know why they didn't show this.
That's why I wanted to say, like, just don't follow clickbaits and all these things, you know.
See, I'm always on the best shows, innit? See, when Auntie Jenny's on the show, you know no shit ain't gonna happen because you can't talk no rubbish in front of me. Because otherwise, what do they say? I'll shut him down.
We put him on the best panel, to be honest, for this.
It was a good panel.
It was a very good panel.
She did a lot of work. She
are you a black woman or are you a mixed race?
Could I just say something? Other than the hair,
the one drop rule.
Can we let her finish? Yes, I think that my mom did an amazing job at educating herself in how.
But she's gonna say a but in it. Once she comes so great, she's got some but trauma, I guess.
Do my hair and how to make me feel like the woman I am, and we can argue that I'm a mixed girl or I'm a black woman, but I think in the world, I'm viewed as a black woman, and so this is what I identify.
What is it they say? You get 2 pots, you get 4 pots of paint, 2 white, 2 black, and you get a drop of white paint and you put it into black, nothing happens, right? And then you get the white paint and you put a drop of black paint in the white, it turns grey. Right. So what she's saying is this shit. You're black. You're black. 1 drop makes you black. 1 drop.
I think she said she was black, but okay.
Makes you black. In England, 1 drop makes you black.
Yes, right?
Right.
Also, my mom.
I studied in America, she's black as well, so don't go around saying you're mixed. Because Doug knows. I just looked there and saw Doug, right? Doug knows. You're black.
Family was racist, so I didn't grow up with any white relatives.
So how come she's black?
Wait.
And Nick's not black?
Auntie, someone just said a very funny statement there.
What did they say?
She said this is why Pearl went to the UK. Easy to find naive and confused black people in the UK.
How am I not?
Nick isn't black. He's part Mexican. A quarter Mexican is half Native American, basically. Because basically, Native American is half Mexican is half Native American generally. So a quarter of that would mean he's an eighth Native American. He would be somewhere between the 10% and 20% range. Anyway, continue.
I'm confused.
No, as opposed to America.
I'm not naive, I'm confused. I just think we just like live and let live. We got better things to do. Rather than going about slavery, we got houses to build. Do you know what, right? But you're going to come and say, maybe Pearl, come here. Let me tell you something, right? As a black person, right? Let me tell you the difference between us and you lot, right? We got somewhere to go. We got somewhere to go. So when you're here cussing off the English black people, right? Remember, when I say I'm going home, right? It's not in England that I'm going home. When I come here and I work and I say, yes, I'm going to build a house, I'm going to buy a house here, and then I'm going to buy a house and go back home. You ask 95% of black people in the UK where home is, and then ask 95% of black people in America where home is. So don't come on my panel and making stupid comments without any backup. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. Tell me where your home is, and then I'll explain to you why we don't care about slavery. Tell me where your home is. You know why? Because wherever you took us from, we can go back. We can go back. That's why we don't care about slavery, because we can go back. We're building up Jamaica. We're building up Barbados. We're building up wherever we come from. We're building up. That's what we do. We work. We work here. We take our money. We buy a house here, and then we go home. That is the difference. So don't tell me about where we come from, why she's gone to America, because I can go home. Where can you go? You can't go home. Come on, my panel, are talking rubbish.
Oh, I'm confused though. What do you mean you don't care about slavery? You are the descendants of slaves being Caribbean. Like, you guys were slaves too, so I don't get what you're talking about there. As far as America, why would someone want to go anywhere else but America? I don't get that, but maybe it's got to do with something else.
Go follow somebody else and troll somebody else, please.
I was going to correct something as well. Someone was like, why would you bring Gabby to a one-on-one interview? She was not in a one-on-one.
Gabby's an ass. Gabby's an ass. Gabby's an ass. Right? Gabby's doing it for clout. Right? Nobody bring Gabby nowhere. Gabby was here, and Gabby's got a big mouth. You look on Wife School, and you see Gabby can hold her own. You understand? So no, Gabby knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly what she was doing. Nobody made her stay there. Do you know what these are? 1, 2. They're feet. They're made for walking. So if you're on a podcast and you don't like it, you can pick your ass up and walk off about standing. Oh, I'm so offended to Italian people. He's right. The Italian men don't want her because she's been out with black men. How simple can it be? It doesn't make him racist. It makes him just as Italian as her. So go and ask the Italian man, do you want an Italian woman that's been out and had sex with loads of black men? No, they don't. Stupid people.
Yeah, to me, I just kind of think in that situation it's obvious. It's like this. Wait, one thing is, Nick Fuentes did not just outwardly say that Gabby is not acknowledged as Italian simply because of the fact that, simply because she was with a black man. She brought it up herself. She brought it on to herself, being completely honest. She said he is not acknowledged by Italians. He is not claimed by Italians because he's biracial. And she specifically pointed this out in another video, that black conservative perspective basically featured. So she went after him for being biracial, saying that Italians aren't going to claim him because he's biracial, trying to make him feel badly about being biracial. And then he said that if they don't claim me, they won't claim you for dating a black man. It's the same thing. You're saying that because he's a product of an interracial relationship, that Italians aren't going to accept him and they're not going to claim him. Well, the Italians aren't going to claim her either because she is partaking in an interracial relationship. And then he went on further to say that, tell an Italian man who likes her that she likes black men. Do you think he's going to like that? I would imagine any man who's not black that she tells that she likes black men, that likes her, is not going to like that because they favor women that favor them, like most people do. So that's obvious.
Aside from my white. So don't feel sorry for Gabby. Gabby's there playing the victim. Go and look at Wife School. That's why I call her Gobby Gabby. I've always called her Gobby Gabby because she's Gobby and she's Gabby. So no, don't feel sorry for Gabby because she knows exactly what she was doing. She knows exactly what she was doing. Like, oh, I didn't know, Pearl. You're going to go and stitch up your friend for clout. Oh, I didn't know, Pearl. I didn't know he was like that. No, you're American. You're American. I just knew he was Nick, somebody controversial. You're from America. So if anybody's supposed to know, Gabby, it's you.
No, I didn't know that people were labeling Nick Fuentes as racist, actually. I knew that back in 2020, they called him homophobic, but not racist. And then it's just like, I guess after 2021, January 6th, they kind of tried to make everybody a white supremacist, the big old boogeyman or whatever that everyone's supposed to fear or whatever. And so I wasn't shocked when I saw that. But before then, people didn't call him racist. They called him other things like homophobic, other things, anti-Semitic, things like that, but not specifically racist. People have been passing out the whole term racist, anti-Semitic, and white supremacist to everybody. People who aren't even white, like Nick Fuentes, for that matter.
It's you. So all of this, right? Gabby, yes, it's you. All of this. Why? Because you want clout. Now you got clout, Gabby. Now you got clout. Now you got the clout. And what? And what? What he said is still right. No Italian man don't want you. No Italian man don't want you. Ask an Italian man if he was lying. He's telling the truth about Gabby. Gabby can hold her own. Gabby's got a mouth on her. Gabby, look at Nick. Nick must have been about 5'4". Nick's about 5'4", 20. He's like bony, but I make him look fat. Look how big Gabby is. Gabby towers over Pearl. So don't tell me that Gabby's there playing the victim, because she's no victim. She could have picked him up and put him outside. That's how tiny he is. And all this over a little 5'4" boy. And she's a big ass woman. And I mean big ass woman. She's a big ass woman. Gabby.
Right. So my experiences come from my dad's family, and so I relate more to my black side. So I think that we're saying that, yes, she should educate herself. And like I said, I praise my mom for what she did, but she could still never tell me how the world is going to receive me, because she wasn't received.
Oh, please. I wasn't told how the world was going to receive me. When I come to England, tell me go back to the jungle. Oh my gosh, they should have prepared me for how the world was going to receive me. Get a life, girl.
Way.
Exactly. That's fair, but
They have this weird idea of black people saying that black people do all these things with their kids. I mean, as a black person, this is not what happened. I was not prepared or told, oh, this is how people are going to receive you, or anything of that nature. You're taught about history. Everyone's taught about history, but nobody, that doesn't mean, how you're taught, basically how you're going to be received in society. I never was taught any of that, and I was raised by a black mother. My mother wasn't taught that either. So it's just weird, all these stereotypes. You have all these ideas of what would happen with having a black mother or a black father, or, both parents being black or whatever, but you never had one. So how are you to say that all those things would occur or happen? What if those things could occur and happen with someone who was a white parent, white mom, white dad? I'm pretty sure some white parents do that, and some white parents don't. Just like some black parents do that and some black parents don't. We're not labeled by our race. We're not like a machine. We're individuals. So you can't say a black parent is going to teach anything. Black parents are different depending on the person, period.
How can somebody prepare you for how the world's going to see you? How can somebody prepare you? What, your mama psychic?
The question. Auntie, you wanted to say something next.
No, I just wanted to know what's more important, your race or your class.
Well, true.
Okay. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody's going on about... I can say I was raised as a black woman, but I didn't fit in anywhere because I was raised middle class.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't have anything in common with any black person that I knew. Yeah. No black person that I knew in England. They can say I stood out like I saw a farm. I spoke differently. I dressed differently. My music, my food, everything was different. And sometimes you go, I was called coconut. I thought I was Rick the King ain't that stupid. But I saw the other end because there was nothing about me other than my skin color that said black. I wouldn't have...
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. And a lot of my mother's family was like that too, because we did come from a black middle class family, several generations back. And I do find that it is your class does have a lot to do with how you are raised as far as your customs and so forth. And I think people assuming that your race has to do with it has to do more with the stereotype of being black rather than the actuality of being black and your specific circumstances.
Actually, Rick, do you know why he didn't do nothing? Because he knows that she can hold her own. And you was always there talking about, I remember he said something about women, I know there's a saying, I know that you're not going to pick up and tell me what the saying is. When a woman causes trouble so that she can go and get a man to come forward and fight, what do you not call that? What do you not call that? There's something. Because I know that there's a way that you're not calling it, like the women do it to the men. You know, like if I go and start on a man, and then I say, yeah, my man's gonna come, because I know that I can come and start on you because I know my man's gonna back me up. That's what she expected. But I'm glad that King Richards went stupid, because she didn't need no backing up. Look at the backup on her. She don't need no backing up. I'm sure she's taller than King Richards. She can pick him up and put him over her shoulder. I mean, he's picking her up. So no, she didn't need no backup. What do they call it? They got a name for it.
I kind of feel out of that situation, she started the problem. Because as you can tell, Nick Fuentes is not having any problems with the people on here. He's talking to multiple races. And he's not having any issue with anyone there. So it's like she instigated the problem by pointing out his race and saying that he was a biracial person and he's going to be rejected by white Italian people. And I think it's like really interesting because it's like, you know, when people have dissenting opinions when they're a person of color, this kind of seems to happen sometimes by white liberals like her, who specifically, you know, they want to make that person feel badly about their race whilst trying to claim that they're racist. And it's interesting to me because it's like, you're the one who's the racist person. You're the one trying to point out that a biracial person should feel badly about their race because you're a bigoted, you know, person. Not like that's anything wrong. I mean, like that you are expressing your right to, you know, freedom of speech, but, you know, you shouldn't be mad when somebody else uses their freedom of speech and actually say, you know, how are you going to co-sign and agree with Italians rejecting and not claiming a biracial and trying to make a biracial feel badly about being biracial while partaking in an interracial relationship, you know? So that's just the thing I feel about this, you know, it's just really interesting that everybody was like, Nick Fuentes was so racist, but, you know, you could see here, he's not really racist. He's not just like, and people acted like she had Nick Fuentes on the pregame and they were basically, you know, talking to him and he was just basically yelling out like ignorant things about people of color and just racist things and just basically being extremely racist. He's not talking down to these people. It's not like he sees these people as subhuman, and he's not even showing that he views Black people or people of color as non-human. He's in a room full of non-white people and he's not having any issue with them. He's in a room full of Black people and he's not having any issue with them. Clearly, he's not racist against Black people. He didn't even say in the situation with Gabby that he specifically saw her as inferior or not Italian. He didn't say that he didn't think she was Italian or that he wouldn't claim her. He said that Italian people won't claim her either if they don't claim him for being biracial. They won't claim her for being in an interracial relationship. That is the appropriate response considering she brought up him being biracial as a negative concept in respect to being Italian. So that's all I have to say in this video. Thanks for watching. I just wanted to point out and show a bit of this video to show, you know, it's clear he's not racist. And I just wish people would bring actual proper evidence showing that he's racist instead of making up lies about, like, he was on the pregame and he was just shouting out racist terms about Black people when that was totally not the truth. So that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, comment down below, and have a great day. Bye, guys.